Hey, Coach Mark here. Just want to talk about goggles. All right. So, a lot of times, a lot of parents always ask, should my kids wear goggles? Can they not wear goggles? Great question. So, again, with anything in the water, there's a lot of factors to consider. So, here we have a lake, a little waterway, something that's not chlorinated. So, to see underwater, you're gonna need some goggles. But even then, it's kind of hard to see. The more stuff in the water, the harder it is to see. A lot of dirt comes up, all that kind of stuff. But what about a pool? Well, if you have a good pool, it's got chlorine in it, or it's a saltwater pool, but still has a form of cleaning agent, typically a chlorine agent of sorts. Well, that being said, the pool is clear. Well, should they wear goggles? Well, that depends on what your goal is. The important thing is to ask the question, do my kids need goggles? No, they do not. And in fact, if your kid says they need goggles, there's a problem. Because the question is, if they fall in the pool, even if they can say, do a whole lap of freestyle, do some backstroke, but the moment they lose their goggles, they can't swim, that might be a problem. And so a lot of times we want to encourage kids to learn how to swim without them, but there's a certain point where you definitely want to use them, especially if you're doing laps. The chlorine in a pool, it can be quite high sometimes, especially if you're in a community pool. If you're in a community pool, chlorine levels are a little bit higher, and again, cause some irritation in the eyes. They'll, have them scratching the eyes, particularly if there's a little bit of burning sensation. Another thing too is the pH of a pool. People don't always consider that. And our pH in our skin is a certain amount. Well, that's going to swing back and forth between different places. So for instance, the average person has a pH in their eye and on their skin of around 7.4. Well, a pool water, guess what? It can range from 6.5 to 8.5, which means you're going to have scratchy eyes, or you're going to see all sorts of things, a little bit different. Not, again, nothing bad, just irritations. And again, goggles can really help in that irritation department. So again, can your kids use goggles? Absolutely. Should they use goggles? Sure, why not? Especially if chlorine's really high. But do they need goggles? And no, they do not. So what I encourage is with your kids is definitely spend some time in the water without them. But if you can put them on and you know you're going to be in the pool all day, not a bad idea. So I leave that to you. You can use that judgment. But either way, I'll see you in the water.